Italo Calvino. Chi ha l'occhio trova quel che cerca anche a occhi chiusi. One who has a sharp eye finds what they are looking for, even with their eyes closed. Discoverer. Driving on the night highway, I pass a large blue and white sign, lit brightly by my headlights. Discover beautiful Rhode Island, which brings a smile, because I have discovered its beauty. Beauty of many kinds that drew me to make a home for body and spirit here by the sea. It also lights a spark, a thought for others on their roads, their travels, their journeys. Whoever you are, whatever those are. What if each day you choose to discover something else or newly beautiful about a friend or a partner, a walk you're on, a dinner you're making, a conversation you're having, or work you're doing, the place you live in, about the day itself, about this moment, about yourself, which you can do with your eyes open or closed, even and sometimes even more so with your eyes closed, where the beauty can be even more visible, palpable, embraceable. I say this to those who know this to be so, and for those who wish to know. The experience of falling to the knees of your heart filled with this seeing, squinting into the sunlight of it, whistling into the joy of it, waltzing gracefully into the wonder of it, of why we're here, while we are here. To behold the myriad beauties that keep appearing, unfolding. To be a deep seer, lover, appreciator of all the beautiful discoveries awaiting, inviting, and never ending. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the latest floating poetry broadcast. And thank you for leaning in from wherever you are leaning in the world, by night or by day, at rest or in motion. I'm delighted you're here for this show, number 158, coming to you live from the serendipitous seacoast of Rhode Island. This is your poet and poetorialist Colin Goedecke, a voice for living our days more fully, more alively, more poetically. Last week was Going Native, about connecting to our native selves, our, quote, native vibrance, to our freest and most natural state of being, free of social varnishing, conforming, conditioning, finding and living, expressing and relating with others from that wholly true place, and with the natural world that always and only comes from its essence. This week, there's more for you to discover, for each of us to discover. Other beautiful things to be found inside people we know, inside ourselves, in nature, and facets and moments of our daily lives, and the fabric and flow of the world around us. Things we didn't know, hadn't gleaned before, have yet to experience, especially when we come to it all in a true and truly active spirit of discovery, a fired up curiosity. Let's start by bringing this intention and energy of inquiry to the cultural commentary, poetry, and musings I've coalesced for us around this theme, and see what it reveals to you, what it sparks in you, calls you to. Let's see. X marks the spot. every place on the map where you go, have been or dream of voyaging, hunting for buried treasures of the eye, the heart, with an urging, emerging spirit, is a place you mark, invisibly but indelibly, with your own precious, sometimes mysterious energy. Imprints that others, forward and backward in time, who cross them, feel a frisson of charged, changed particles, molecules, that waves underfoot, moves up through their bodies, weaves through the passing air. X marks the spot. For Tabitha Shalem, my wonderful friend, is going through some challenging times. I know some beautiful truths about you. That your world is round, well and wisely rounded by the earthly circle of hearts you've touched, by all those constellating so brightly around yours. That you are free, with liberty as boundless as the ocean waters, as the wind and songs of birds, to make and sing your own wondrous way. That you are whole, wholly and remarkably here, with everything inside you need to live and love, to flow from, to grow daily and beautifully from. I love out to her. Yes, beautiful truths. Call them forth, my friends. Call them forth, yours and others. Beautiful truths that you see, that you discover. I had a summer cottage for some years, very joyfully so, on the South Fork of Long Island, East Hampton, New York, the village of East Hampton. And back in July of 2001 came a poem about something that would happen often. I would love to take a small road to the ocean by car or bicycle, in part. I love going on that road because of the ever-fresh experience I'd have each time in my body and my spirit of arriving this way to the sea. Old Beach Lane. If you spend time in East Hampton, I bet you have been there. Maybe you had the same feeling I did. Old Beach Lane. Cresting the hill into deep blue sea. A moment of recurring revelation where ocean meets earth and fills any body with simple wonder, with a silent, fathomless, soul-satisfying sigh. When I read that poem and I close my eyes, I can be there again. I can feel that feeling. Khalil Gibran, who you would know from his book The Prophet and elsewhere, on beauty. And a poet said, "Speak to us of beauty." And he answered, "Where shall you seek beauty, and how shall you find her unless she herself be your way and your guide? And how shall you speak of her except she be the weaver of your speech? The aggrieved and the injured say, beauty is kind and gentle. Like a young mother half shy of her own glory, she walks among us. And the passionate say, nay, beauty is a thing of might and dread. Like the tempest, she shakes the earth beneath us and the sky above us. The tired and the weary say, beauty is of soft whisperings, she speaks in our spirit. Her voice yields to our silences like a faint light that quivers in fear of the shadow. But the restless say, we have heard her shouting among the mountains, and with her cries came the sound of hoofs, and the beating of wings, and the roaring of lions. At night, the watchmen of the city say, beauty shall rise with the dawn from the east. And at noontide the toilers and the wayfarers say, we have seen her leaning over the earth from the windows of the sunset. In winter, say the snowbound, she shall come with the spring leaping upon the hills. And in the summer heat the reapers say, We have seen her dancing with the autumn leaves, and we saw a drift of snow in her hair. All these things have you said of beauty, yet in truth you spoke not of her, but of needs unsatisfied. And beauty is not a need, but an ecstasy. It is not a mouth thirsting, nor an empty hand stretched forth, but rather a heart inflamed and a soul enchanted. It is not in the image you would see, nor the song you would hear, but rather an image you see though you close your eyes, and a song you hear though you shut your ears. It is not the sap within the furrowed bark, nor a wing attached to a claw, but rather a garden forever in bloom and a flock of angels forever in flight. People of Orphalese, beauty is life when life unveils her holy face. But you are life, and you are the veil. Beauty is eternity gazing at itself in a mirror. But you are eternity, and you are the mirror. Thank you, Khalil Gibran. The philosopher-poet John O'Donohue, from his book Beauty. A wonderful, wonderful book. I've read it many times. I'm suggesting you might enjoy it. Each morning we awaken to the light and the invitation to a new day in the world of time. Each night we surrender to the dark to be taken to play in the world of dreams where time is no more. At birth we were awakened and emerged to become visible in the world. At death we will surrender again to the dark to become invisible. Awakening and surrender, they frame each day and each life. Between them the journey where anything can happen, the beauty and the frailty. Thank you always, John O'Donohue. Well, I, as you may know, discover the world many ways, especially its poetics, with many inner and outer senses, and not least by reading and creating poetry, written, spoken, visual. This is from the Aegean island of Kea, from Gorizia in the Cyclades, August 2012. O Pyrsos mu, my torch. My torch, O Pyrsos mu, is the pen that illuminates the page, the hand that guides each arriving word, the opened eyes that show me the world as it was, as it is, and now becomes. The eyes that light the life passages I wander and wonder through, that reveal the beauty and majesty of free, old, and fellow souls. It's the flame of my heart that dispels the darkness that burns with innocence. We each have our own torches. We each are our own torches. Flame in the world. The writer Annie Dillard on how to live with mystery, 2 ways of looking in the secret of seeing. She said, I cannot cause light. The most I can do is try to put myself in the path of its beam. It's from her book Pilgrim at Tinker Creek from 1974. It's quite a treasure, that book. And here's a little bit from there for us, for you. The secret of seeing is the pearl of great price. If I thought he could teach me to find it and keep it forever, I would stagger barefoot across 100 deserts after any lunatic at all. But although the pearl may be found, it may not be sought. The literature of illumination reveals this above all. Although it comes to those who wait for it, it is always, even to the most practiced and adept, a gift and a total surprise. I cannot cause light. The most I can do is try to put myself in the path of its beam. It is possible, in deep space, to sail on solar wind. Light, be it particle or wave, has force. You rig a giant sail and go. The secret of seeing is to sail on solar wind. Hone and spread your spirit till you yourself are a sail, wetted, translucent, broadside, to the merest puff. Thank you, Annie Dillard. That lovely. The Uruguayan writer, Eduardo Galeano, Window on Arrival. Pilar and Daniel Weinberg's son was baptized on the coast. The baptism taught him what was sacred. They gave him a seashell and said, "So you'll learn to love the water." They opened a cage and let a bird go free. "So you'll learn to love the air." They gave him a geranium. "So you'll learn to love the earth." And they gave him a little bottle sealed up tight, saying, "Don't ever, ever open it. So you'll learn to love mystery." Thank you, Eduardo Galeano. And even if we're not a newborn, we could say each day is a kind of rebirthing. We can all take a page from this book of Pilar and Daniel's. Yes. From the Marginalian, Robert McFarlane on landscape as a lens on inner life. From his book, The Old Way is a Journey on Foot. Paths run through people as surely as they run through places. Well, this is a final book in his trilogy on landscape as a lens on inner life, exploring, quote, the relationship between paths, walking, and the imagination. Through his experience walking more than 1,000 miles along ancient paths, only to find himself delivered more fully in the present. Well, here's a snippet from the book for you. Paths run through people as surely as they run through places. I have long been fascinated by how people understand themselves using landscape, by the topographies of self we carry within us, and by the maps we make with which to navigate these interior terrains. We think in metaphors drawn from place, and sometimes those metaphors do not only adorn our thought, but actively produce it. Landscape, to borrow George Eliot's phrase, can, quote, enlarge the imagined range for self to move in. Advice on a Full Life from the philosopher Martha Nussbaum. This is from Take My Advice. Interesting book. Letters to the Next Generation from People Who Know a Thing or Two. It was edited by James Harmon. And it's an anthology of thoughtful and honest and brave and, quote, unfluffed advice from 79 cultural icons, from Mark Halperin and Katharine Hepburn to Betty Davis and William Burroughs. Well, it says here in this review that one of the most poignant letters comes from the philosopher Martha Nussbaum, who makes an eloquent case for the importance of cultivating a rich inner life by celebrating emotional excess as a generative force, embracing vulnerability, not fearing feelings, and harnessing the empathic power of storytelling. So here's what she has to say. Storytelling plays a big role in the process of development. As we tell stories about the lives of others, we learn how to imagine what another creature might feel in response to various events. At the same time, we identify with the other creature and learn something about ourselves. As we grow older, we encounter more and more complex stories in literature, film, visual art, music that give us a richer and more subtle grasp of human emotions and of our own inner world. So my second piece of advice, closely related to the first, is read a lot of stories. Listen to a lot of music and think about what the stories you encounter mean for your own life and lives of those you love. In that way, you will not be alone with an empty self. You will have a newly rich life with yourself and enhanced possibilities of real communication with others. What a great joy and a gift to be able to see the deeper beauty in another, especially to see a person's soul glowing before you. This is from my immersive exhibition of theater on paper, Behind the Curtain, that debuted in spring of 2018 and traveled thereafter parts of the country. What is hidden is only hidden from unseeing eyes. To the rest, it's all present, all presence. The tender heart, the shining soul of another, holding their deepest dreams and desires, doubts and fears, beauty and mystery out in the open. Well, I do have some questions for you about our discovering here as we go along, especially, yes, your beautiful discovering. What's something beautiful you recently discovered? Either about yourself or someone you know, or a place you visited, maybe the place you live in now. What about a beautiful revelation in or of nature, an experience that revealed something newly wonderful to you about it? Are you greatly curious in your days? If not, was there a time you were? Maybe wildly so. Eager to find out all kinds of interesting things. Maybe restlessly eager. If you are a rampant discoverer, what inspires you to discover? What fuels that spirit? Are there parts of yourself you'd like to discover? Some inner beauty within yet to be unveiled, yet to be seen by others? If so, how did you realize it was there to begin with? And what will it take for you to let it appear, to bring it to the surface of yourself and your life? When did someone realize something marvelous about you they never knew or ever saw before? Who was it? And what was that? And how did that feel? That being seen, that being recognized by another? What beauty have you found and appreciated in your face, in your voice, in your body, your personality, your mind, your heart, and your spirit? What about some beautiful aspect of your way of moving or working or relating? What's the most mysterious thing you ever discovered? How about the most surprising? How about the most secret? And what's the most beautiful truth about life you never knew till recently? There's always more beauty to experience, to enter, to behold, no matter how much life you've lived. I'd love to hear your thoughts and feelings. Do write me. Let's talk about mystery a bit more, since it's part of the lure of some discovery and part of what we sometimes find in our seekings. What if it's a mystery play? This life. And we must, like Sherlock Holmes and Hercule Poirot, carefully, cleverly follow its clues, however false at first, or faint, or far-fetched. Deduce the meaning hiding inside it all. Uncover the heart of our story, at least enough of the mystery to reveal the particular part we're each here, each meant, cast into the world to play. Another poem for you from my Theater on Paper, that Behind the Curtain exhibition, immersive exhibition, experiential. This is the story poem of the outer spacer, who is an intrepid explorer. The outer spacer is on an odyssey, Homerian, for the 21st century, a mission to explore the farthest reaches of his inner galaxy, for which he needs an outer space suit. The skin he arrived in, lives in. Wide openness, leaps of courage, and astronautical curiosity. On this vast and varied journey, where he may discover the secrets and platelets of his known and unknown universe. Ones from wormholes and stars to cosmic rays and solar winds that exist and persist within him, differently inside each of his fellow earthlings, whether they venture outside in or not. The outer spacer. Here's a poem from Mecklenburg, Germany, 2015, about the places, the dimensions, the marvels we can find inside someone else, someone we dearly love. This is called Inside You. Deep inside you is a luminous blue grotto, sun-swept, wind-swept seas, groves of ocean grasses undulating, meditating in slowest motion, hidden orchards ripe with late summer rays, shadows, succulent fruits, towering cloud banks, brilliant white brushed with violet, northern lights, fire, fireworks, firelight. Deep inside you are virgin springs, cisterns, cenotes, sources. Clusters of flowers that open, close, perfume, everbloom. Clusters of stars that shimmer in from unknown constellations. Silk-lined passages, soft-petaled entrances. Rare places to behold, be held, enfolded. Halls, chambers, corners, a play with mysterious felt melodies, harmonies, delirious rhythms, reveries. Places of deep joinings, enjoinings, pourings, purifying. All inside you. Yes, as I said a moment ago, there's always something to explore outside, but also inside ourselves, inside others. And as we and they evolve, our consciousness shifts as it shifts, and life infuses and shapes and reshapes us. There's always something else happening that wasn't there necessarily before, or as available or as seeable. This piece is from 2016, and it was written as a portrait of the Dutch artist Jasper Krabbe from Amsterdam on his then 46th birthday, exploring the interior. Your face points the way in to an unmapped interior, starting on the coast, an ever-changing charter of rugged shoreline, headland, jawline, all restlessly tidal, then moves inward through eyesight alone, through light and dark terrain into deepest interior, where only the most intrepid explorer can travel, can begin to limn the wildness, the dangers, wonders, hiddenness, can map the longitudes of the heart, memory, the latitudes of longing, or measure the distances between the soul of this place and the sun, moon, the guiding stars. Out to him in the world, wherever this finds him. Well, let's be truly and ever more curious, dear listeners, eagerly discovering, shall we? Including seeking stories yet known or revealed to us, like those of a parent, like one from a mother. Here's a poem I just composed newly on Mother's Day, the other day. Tell me, mother. Tell me the story of your life as a mother, your mothering journey, in your own words, your own way. How it began, how it unfolded, what your true passions were, your triumphs, your hopes and sadnesses, especially the unspoken ones, your questionings, your learnings, what you gave of yourself freely or dutifully, what needed mothering of yourself you had to give up along the way, and where it led you. I want to hear, to know, so I can better see and appreciate you, mother, affirm or feel compassion for you, be able to bring the weave of the dark and light threads of your own voiced story as a mother, as a woman, through the fabric of my consciousness, through the heart of not one, but all my days. Tell me, Mother. I am listening. Self-discovery. Yes, we can surprise ourselves, can't we? But also empoweringly by discovering our ability and courage to change, maybe begin in a welcome new way. How will you begin? Or continue to see and feel, bring to light far more of yourself, who you really beautifully and so one of a kindly are. Cast off the cloaks of whatever you're not, or thought you had to be. Find and live the unlived, undiscovered parts of your life, the buried treasures of your body, mind, heart, waiting to be discovered and embraced, honored and expressed. Pose big, beautiful questions to yourself, ones ready to reshape you just by courageous asking, honest pondering, starting from your soul. Begin new conversations, fresh and freeing conversations with and without words, with the world around you, the people, the earth, and humanity around you. End those you've outworn or have worn you out. Kindle your deeper passions and compassions, from glowing embers to roaring bonfires. Reimagine how much more is possible, dreamable, where the world is your oyster full of pearls. Revisit what is, in this here, this now, most natural, vital, joyful, what brings you alive. Maybe the music of Brahms or birds, the taste of true love, friendship, sunlight. Because another future may be calling for you to enter, for you to begin. And how, dear listeners, will you begin? And what may be calling, or is, as we speak. I felt we ought to speak a bit of beautiful places and beautiful things we discover in places where we're traveling, in the country we're in, or the world, or somewhere. This is from Italy, from Sorrento, September 1997, at the Pensione La Tonarella, overlooking Mount Vesuvius. Bella Vista La Tonarella. Views float in white space from the camera. Blacks and whites penetrate the plaster to reveal an upended cone of rock and earth beyond. Vesuvio. A wind-lapped cliff falls to the sea, into the Bay of Napoli, sending up seagulls and sound, while a confetti of colored buildings warm in the morning sun below the Tarantella town of Sorrento. Shirley Buettner. Discovered. While clearing the west quarter for more cropland, the cat quarried a porcelain doorknob oystered in earth, grained and crazed like an historic egg, with a screwless stem of rusted and pitted iron. I turned its cold white roundness with my palm, and opened the oak door fitted with oval glass, fretted with wood ivy, and called my frontier neighbor. Her voice comes distant, but clear, scolding children in overalls and high-buttoned shoes. A bucket of fresh eggs and a clutch of rhubarb rest on her daisied oilcloth. She knew I would knock some day, wanting in. Thank you, Shirley Buettner, from her collection, Walking Out the Dark. Wonderful. That's a new person and poem for me. Here's Rebecca Solnit on what our dream homes reveal about our interior lives. The dream of a house can be the eternally postponed preliminary step to taking up the lives we wish we were living, she said in her book, Encyclopedia of Trouble and Spaciousness. Well, there are indeed beautiful things to discover and rediscover about places we visit, places we dwell in, and gardens and parks and neighborhoods we walk in. This is from this book I just mentioned of hers. There are times when it's clear to me that by getting and spending, we lay waste our powers, and times when, say, the apricot velvet headboard against the lavender wall of a room in an old hotel fills me with a mysterious, satisfied pleasure in harmonies of color, texture, atmospheres of comfort, domesticity, and a desire to go on living among such color and texture and space and general real estate. There are times when I believe in spiritual detachment, though there was a recent occasion when I bothered to go take a picture of my old reading armchair to the upholsterer's around the corner to see if it can be made beautiful again, and worry about whether charcoal velveteen would go with my next decor. There are times when I enjoy the weightlessness of traveling and wish to own nothing, and afternoons when I want to claim every farmhouse I drive by as my own, especially those with porches and dormers. Those spaces so elegantly negotiating inside and out, as though building itself could direct and support an ideal life, the life we dream of when we look at houses. Thank you, Rebecca Solnit, for that. Well, one thing I love discovering, you might explore this when you're elsewhere, when I'm staying at other people's houses. It's the books that they're reading, that are about their house, but especially those left in whatever room I'm sleeping in. I've done a series of these poems in different places and times, and this is from when I was in La Habra, California. The stories in my room. Man in the landscape. Engines of creation. The earth moved into the heart. The center of life. Mystery dance. Bestiaire d'amour. The forest. Time without clocks. Intuition. Everyday wonders. Poetry speaks. David Ignato. Apropos of our discoveries in nature, about it, through it. Information. This tree has 2,075,000 leaves. Perhaps I missed a leaf or two, but I do feel triumphant at having persisted in counting by hand, branch by branch, and marked down on paper with pencil each total. Adding them up was a pleasure I could understand. I did something on my own that was not dependent on others, and to count leaves is not less meaningful than to count the stars, as astronomers are always doing. They want the facts to be sure they have them all. It would help them to know whether the world is finite. I discovered one tree that is finite. I must try counting the hairs on my head, and you too. We could swap information. Information. Thank you, David Ignato. It's from his collection Against the Evidence. Galway Canal, spring oak. Above the quiet valley and unrippled lake, while woodchucks burrowed new holes and birds sang and radicals began downward and shoots committed themselves to the spring and entered with tiny industrious earthquakes, a dry-rooted, winter-twisted oak revealed itself slowly, and one morning, while the valley underneath was still sleeping, it shook itself, and it was all green. Always beautiful, always splendid, this poem. Thank you, Galway Canal. And even though each spring is familiar, isn't it? There's always so much, I feel, so much newness to each one. It's a poem I had here, but I keep us in time as I want to do so. I'll point you to it. You can find it at the Poetry Foundation, other places, I'm sure. This is the title is Dream Carp, C-A-R-P, by Lee Ann Rorapog. Yeah, so have a look at that maybe. Maybe it'll swim into our view another time into our ears. On average, you will meet between 10,000 and 20,000 other people during your lifetime. You'll briefly interact with perhaps 1 million. That's a fact. Look that up. Well, I think of that as 10 to 20,000 opportunities for fresh discovery. What do you think? Would you agree? This next poem came back to me. Hadn't seen it in a while as I mused on the words of a wonderful friend, a soul sister in Brooklyn, who was gleaning into me early on, getting to know me, and I her, but that soul connection was very strong right off the bat. And she started by saying, I think you might be a magician. But then she came back and said, no, I think not a magician. Maybe a Merlin. I heard you say. And musing on the idea of me being a wizard, an enchanter, only to discover, on delving deeper, that that figure of Arthurian times arose from a place of poetry, a place of magic, mystery, and imagination, a place I daily live and swim and dream in, was a marvelous bard to boot, a Myrddin Welshman, who matures, ascends into sagehood, who animates and fascinates, who sees, speaks, incants, and invokes through the mists, opens others to hidden dimensions, to far greater senses. Yes, maybe a kind of Merlin. Well, I am a passionate beachcomber, as some know, and I'm also a honeycomber. What about you, my friends? Maybe you're a fellow honeycomber. Maybe you are. The honeycomber gathers sweetness, faces, feelings, moments, instead of sea glass and shells, from the shores and tides of his days. Keeps his feet and eyes bared, his heart unbuttoned, to discover the softness of the world, the in and outflowing wonders, the full honeying sun. My Father and Myself Facing the Sun by Lawson Fusao Inada. We are both strong, dark, bright men, though perhaps you might not notice, finding two figures flat against the landscape like the shadowed backs of mountains. Which would not be far from wrong, for though we both have on Western clothes, and he is seated on a yellow spool of emptied and forgotten telephone cable, and I recline on a green aluminum lounge, we are both facing into the August sun, as August as Hiroshima and the autumn. There are differences, however, if you care to discover, coming close, respectfully. You must discover the landscape as you go. Come, it is in the eyes, the face, the way we would greet you stumbling as you arrive. He is much the smooth, grass-brown slopes reaching knee-high around you as you walk. I am the cracks of cliffs and gullies, pieces of secret deep in the back of the eye. But he is still my father, and I his son. After a while there is time to go fishing, both of us squatting on rocks in the dusk, leaving peaks and tree line responsible for light. There is a lake below, which both of us acknowledge by facing forward like the sun. Ripples of fish, moon, luminous insects, frogs, owls, crickets at their sound. Deer, raccoon, badger come down to drink. At the water's edge, the children are fishing, casting shadows from the enormous shoreline. Everything functions in the function of summer, and gradually, and not by chance, the action stops. The children hush back among rocks and also watch with nothing to capture but dusk. There are 4 of us, together among others. And I am not at all certain what all this means, if it means anything, but feel with all my being that I must write this down, if I write anything. My father, his son, his grandsons, strong, serene. Night, 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 before the following morning. Thank you, Lawson Inada, from the collection Legends from Camp. May Swenson. Digging in the garden of age, I uncover a live root. For E.W. The smell of wet geraniums. On furry leaves, transparent drops, rounded as cat's eyes, seen sideways. Smell of the dark earth, and damp brick of the pots you held, tamped empty. Flash of the new trowel, your eyes green in greenhouse light. Smell of your cotton smock, of your neck in the freckled shade of your hair. A gleam of sweat in your lips, scoop. Pungent geranium leaves, their wet smell when our widening pupils met. Thank you, May Swenson. Coming now to our last handful of sharings and musings for this week. The writer Anais Nin, when she was 28 years old, which was in 1931, you live like this, sheltered in a delicate world, and you believe you are living. Then you read a book, Lady Chatterley's, for instance, or you take a trip, or you talk with someone, and you discover that you are not living, that you are hibernating. The symptoms of hibernating are easily detectable. First, restlessness. The second symptom, when hibernating becomes dangerous and might degenerate into death, absence of pleasure. That is all. It appears like an innocuous illness, monotony, boredom, death. Millions live like this, or die like this, without knowing it. They work in offices, they drive a car, they picnic with their families, they raise children, and then some shock treatment takes place. A person, a book, a song, and it awakens them and saves them from death. Thank you, Anais Nin. Did you know, dear listeners, would you be surprised to discover that you have wings? Your hands are wings. Your hands and your feet are wings. Yes, and your eyes, those lips, wings. That heart, too, has wings. It, all of you, can fly. And let us not forget to speak of the etheric, the ethereal. This is a poem from East Pond Road above Lake Damariscotta in Noblesboro, Maine, October 2018. What is this presence? Close around me in the night darkness, in the deep stillness, enfolding me like a lover with such tenderness, like a mother with such benevolence. Is it the presence of the land and water I lie above? Is it a soft, silent angel revealing its protecting wings? Or my own spirit, my anima, holding me so transcendentally and showing me I'm really a body inside a breathing soul? What is this presence? Well, think and feel beyond now of the expanse before you. A whole universe. So vast, marvelous, mysterious. The one we live in. The one we read about, talk, write, and muse about. But why bypass the one as profound, as boundless, that lives not out there, but in here, inside each of us? We miraculous mirrors, microcosms, embodiers of that universe, its wisdom, energy, and wonder, awaiting our discovery, unveiling, expressing, in our own way, space, and time, the whole universe of you. Next to last, from the French philosopher Gaston Bachelard, as he considered the nature of the instant and its role in the human experience. Whether it comes from suffering or whether it comes from joy, we all experience as human beings the moment of illumination at some point in our lives. A moment when we suddenly understand our own message. The sudden inflection of human genius upon the curvature of life's progress, Intellectual courage consists in actively and vitally preserving this instant of nascent knowledge, of making it the unceasing fountain of our intuition, and of designing, with the subjective history of our errors and faults, the model of a better, more illuminated life. And last for now, until we're together again, and here we can also say woman, the astonished man. Perhaps like Blaise Cendrar's astonished man, l'homme foudroyé, arrested by the revelations of the moment, a glinting sword of sun or moonlight falling across the ocean to the shore at his feet, the intoxicating musk of a forest after rain, the bare nape of a lover's neck, or the song of a robin wild bright with spring, until each day becomes a great and endless stream of astonishments, and our man makes it his mission to be still and behold more often than he bestirs and bypasses, no longer withholds his attention in connection to the extraordinary. Thank you again, friends, for leaning in, listening, and feeling in. Thanks as well for sharing these shows with others. Feel free to post this show link or the whole playlist out to your friends or your social media so we can reach a larger body of eager listeners, of enthusiasts. As always, I invite your questions, comments, and reflections. Likewise, any and all donations, always welcome, always, and always helpful to put toward my efforts for you and many others. If there's a theme that you'd like me to shape a future broadcast around, let me know. Send me an email, colin@thepoetorialist.com. What about your experience of this show? There's more for you to discover. I would like to know. If you are sending along a contribution, you can use Venmo to fivefold, FIVEFOLD, at pipeline.com, or PayPal to the same email. Or simply mail a check along to P.O. Box 1032, Westerly, Rhode Island, 02891. Or you can donate through my site, thepoetorialist.com, by way of the Donate tab. Yes, I can be sponsored or directly hosted as a working poet in residence in the U.S. or elsewhere in the world to create a new flight of poetic art and dedicate it to a patron. Reach out to explore. Meanwhile, you can hear all the broadcasts online, on YouTube, on the Floating Poetry playlist. You can also find out more on the coming by summer of this year of the Poetisphere, a one-of-a-kind portal of possibility I'll be guiding, thepoetisphere.com. I hope you'll lean in soon again. Until then, dear listeners, always be discovering, and stay open to discovering, beyond whatever you know about yourself and others, about nature and the world you move through, especially more of the beautiful that's awaiting, inviting your discovery. Goodbye for now, and good spirits.